live.
Those are like the longest 10 seconds I've ever experienced.
I know, but time doesn't really exist, so it doesn't matter.
You know what? Actually, in my I've been doing this breathing exercises for like activating DMT. It's kind of hard to talk about this and experience, not experience, like have the experience and then explain it. But I had that experience of having like no time, like time just dissolves in a way. If you ever had a psychedelic trip, you know what I'm talking about. It's just like, it's just not there. But anyhow, um, thank you anybody who's watching right now. We are going to
We're
talk
back.
about,
Yes,
what are we
we're
talking
back.
about?
Well, first of all, hi to people who's here with the Viking Brosis. I've been looking forward for this one. Today we're talking. I think that most people know now that a black man was killed by a white cop, right? I think that the whole planet knows, and I think a lot of people have gone to the streets in the name of anti-racism, in the name of no more hate, no more suppression, and yeah, I think this wave have been riding off the whole week. So because of that, we want to go into this. We want to step up as a further step up. So we go into the polarities and the duality of life to really understand what is going on right now, and not going into the debate about it, but going into the dynamic about it. So that's where I see it. That's what we're going to talk about. And if people is on, they can ask questions, come with some of their point of view, and we will read it up in this talk.
Yeah, and that's the point, to get involved, with people and, what are they saying? Because otherwise, just
Always.
us talking, we could just record this and, post it anywhere. I like how you're saying understanding now. It reminds me of the Jamaicans that say overstanding, because understanding is like you're standing under, the knowledge. So now you're overstanding. So
Yeah.
they say, it's like they say you of us. That's what they mean. Where's Erica? Erica McKenzie when I need her. From the cards, remember?
Yeah,
Um,
I
yeah,
remember.
so it's a level of grasping knowledge, in a different way. I like how you say it. But yeah, I mean this. Let's start. Let's just start. With the elephant in the room, of course, because oh my God, have we gotten? I call it season 2 of 2020, because
For sure.
season 1 is COVID-19. Nobody seems to care anymore about how much we have been manipulated. And you know what? It's actually I was thinking about it, and I see like this is how they program you. This is how they get you into accepting, the boogeyman. And when you start looking at it, and it's like, oh, it's made up. No, 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 no. Look at this other, monster here. And you're trying to tell people like, remember the boogeyman? We found some evidence here that, it says that no, nobody cares. Season 2 is up. You know, that's how I see it. So, we now we're talking about all this stuff. Now we're seeing, this whole thing, and I try not to invest too much energy on it. But again, these experiences are happening for a reason, and that's the practical aspect of it,
Hmm. Yeah,
right? So,
exactly.
this is when now we come into, the moment of more division, but this is now mental division. If you, um, I made a post the other day saying that we got divided by physically, biologically. Now it's like what's going on? Like now it's accepted that we cannot be together. It's like hugging is no good. Hugging is no good. What? Why? Not being together. Do
I
you see
know.
the law they're trying to pass in England now that couples can have sex if they are, they live separate?
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
know. It's
oh
ridiculous.
God,
It's
yeah. So
ridiculous.
yeah,
But it is
this is
serving the
all.
higher purpose without sounding spiritual, because it's not spiritual at all. But it is, as I see it, and which is important that we talk about today. It is not just it is serving something higher than just what our own three-dimensional mind can see. And that's what I think is interesting in this debate and this chaos and this current moment on our earth, that this is serving something higher. And what is that? What is it that they're trying to push us into? What is it that they're trying to say with all these ridiculous statements and all these riots and all these games by playing us out with each other? Like, what is it that is happening actually?
So what do you think is happening with this whole thing? Let me get your take on this.
First of all, like, just for share some personal information here, because I thought that I was awake. But I was not awake at all. Like, yeah, I knew that there was this cult, and I knew about the Freemason, the Illuminati, Deep State, all this yada yada yada. But I didn't knew how they came here. I didn't knew what their purpose was, and I didn't know what it was that they were taking from me. So this week and this time has really waken me up to this fact that what they're trying to hijack is my life and the fundamental rules about how to live life in harmony. And going into that science of life has really opened some portals for me. And this whole take with Corona, I'm so grateful that we are going through this time, because I would never have going through this process if this chaos and this darkness and this evilness haven't arrived. So first of all, if you see that, and of you who look now and watch, if you see that, I think that the fundamental thing that is happening right now is that we are going through awakening of understanding ourselves by being presented with something that polarizes us in a way where we get a new perspective. And that's my take on everything that is happening right now. It is polarities against polarities against polarities to create this perspective.
Yep. I think that's a great segue because that's what I was trying to get into, like what is it that they're trying to play out here? Now we can get into, like you said, the minutia of it, like the little things of how and why and the manipulation and was he killed, was he not, are they being paid? I mean, we all know now that these are, riots and everything's being paid for. So it's again, it's another agenda, and it's a massive one. But without getting into that is what it actually means for us. And remember how we said that we thrive in chaos, like me and you. And that wasn't a statement that I said out of pride or anything. It's something that I embrace because the opportunity is there.
Mm-hmm.
In a functional society, there's no opportunity for growth, or not as much as this. Like the catalyst that exists right now, it's bigger because the contrast between dark and light is bigger now. Whereas before it was just like, no, everything's gray, man. Different shades. Now it's like, real, black and white polarity again. And we'll dive slowly into this. But see, that's what's being created. And the reason why we thrive in chaos is because we choose to experience the situations, the events, the moments, the agendas, whatever is being presented to us as an opportunity for growth and understanding or understanding, your position and everything, and how you can benefit from this. How can you benefit? And the word benefit may sound like you're taking advantage of something, but you are. I mean, if it's for your personal growth, and you are taking advantage of it, and you should always do that. And this is how you perceive it. And again, perception is everything. I will die saying this. Perception is everything. So if you can start perceiving this, the viewer right now, if you can start perceiving this as an opportunity to reflect on the situation, to reflect on the experience in a way that you can polarize yourself, and we're going to get into this as we go on, but to polarize yourself towards where you want to be. And once again, this is not a good podcast or an evil podcast. This is a very neutral podcast, because what we're talking about here is things that people can use in a way that resonates with them. Whether you're satanic, which I doubt they would be, watching us, but if they are, then great. Or, a spiritual being, enlightened, it doesn't matter, because and especially that that's what we're talking about, polarities, what we perceive as evil and enlightenment, or good and bad and whatnot. So it's how now we process this situation, and how we are gifted right now with the opportunity to perceive these this anarchist, the anarchy that is going on, the difference and the division now that you see in social media. Because if COVID-19 didn't do it well before, now they have another opportunity to start arguing with each other and saying some lives matter for some reason, and we need to bring down, this is all somebody's fault, this is it's awesome, because it really is either polarizing people towards the way. And I'll end it with this, and I'll leave the floor for you. But think about it this way: things are being presented in a way that the viewer of this reality can see it as something for them to grow personally, or to conform and consent once again with a narrative, which I'm not saying it's good or bad, but it's really people's choice if you want to be part of somebody else's narrative, or you want to start creating your own. And that's what I encourage.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Beautiful.
So, I don't know what you have to say about that, or if you want to dive into anything else in terms of the dualistic mind.
Yeah, well, because, and I have been verbally abused by saying this last week, but I stand for what I'm saying. And I really believe especially in this case, what regards George Floyd and the murder or whatever that happened there. I mean, when you take a stand, you create automatically a polarity. That means that racism can't exist without anti-racism. So when you go into that discussion, you make race become reality, because you actually take a stand that is either pro or anti. And by that, you create the polarities and bring this form of perception into this physical realm, which is what many people don't understand. And I have been talking a lot about this the last week, and I see people being mad at me and saying, "Oh, Simona, this is white privilege. Why are you saying this? You don't know how it is to suffer. You don't know how it is to be hated on," and all these things. And I just hear story upon story upon story, and attachment upon attachment upon attachment. And I'm like, but do we move on by being attached to this hate, by being attached to this feeling this bring, or do we move on by not bringing it into reality and say that racism does even exist? Racism doesn't even exist if we don't buy into it, because this is a play against our mind. And if we can go beyond that, this puppy play will not really be so much alive as it is right now. So I have been, there has been a lot of fights going on there. But I really think also that it is also kind of a projecting about yourself. You're projecting it outside. You bring the hate outside instead of bringing the love inside, and understand, why are you getting touched by this? Why are you getting touched by people treated like this? Something inside of you, we need to bring it home. That is what I'm trying to say. The love, bring it home. Don't push it out. If you've been triggered by anything, take it home to yourself. So there's a lot of conflicts here. That is the polarity conflict, the projecting of the hate, and there is this whole race conflict that suddenly became reality without even, there is no race. It's ridiculous. There has never been a race. It is just a pure play of manipulation, of hijacking of our perception, and this divide and conquer concept that we have seen over and over and over again. And it will not change before we understand that there is no such thing as polarity in that way that we're being presented of it. And that's mainly my take on this you are saying. Yeah. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, it's so simple, because we're not even talking about, at least with COVID-19, we're talking about life and death. or health, which we all possess. But let's say I'm not white, I'm not black, right?
Mm-hmm.
Spanish. Do I get to play here? Is this part of my game? I don't know. What about Asians?
Yeah.
What about, I don't know, Indians, American Indians, anybody? Do we get to play here? Is this how? What is this? Do I need to take a stand? Do I? I mean, it's obvious. Like it's created. It's fabricated in a
Yeah.
way that, and I'm talking about the whole racism thing. Um, it doesn't matter because it doesn't exist. Like
No.
you said, it exists only in people's mind. And I'm not going to say, that there are not some racist people, but who was first, the chicken or the egg? That's the kind of situation we're here. Like, was this person racist naturally, or was he born in an environment that was bombarded with the propaganda and the illusion of division by race?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever the answer is, it's still something that is an illusion. It doesn't exist because that's just not part of the human experience. It's never been the case. So we know that it's a created thing, and it's fabricated. But the question is, are people capable of doing, the mental research to actually say if, like, the person that started talking to you and saying, your privileges and whatever nonsensical stuff they can come up with.
Yeah.
Is this really experiential? Like, did they actually become part of something that happened, or was this something that they were fed over time and that they felt because the sad thing about this is that people who are compassionate naturally, empathic people will fall towards the narrative of being supportive of the victims because we're victimizing again,
Yeah.
and this is what's kind of sad to a degree that happens, but it's they're being victimized. People are being victimized for the purpose of creating this natural compassion that a lot of people have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I don't have obviously anything against people who have been going through this process saying, I support this, I support that, I think this is this, I think this is that, because they're being, hit in the feels, like their emotions are being played with. And I just think it's beautiful that they react this way. But I feel like, people need to find out more beyond that, as opposed to just saying, I take a stand, on this. Just become a little bit more aware of what's actually happening, and that awareness is what we need. And
But it's
one,
yeah.
one last thing I would say is that we are still, this is a big lesson for anybody listening. We have to always question ourselves if we are being told, manipulated into a way of thinking, if what we are thinking is actually something that we believe and think wholeheartedly, or if it came somehow from a conception that you didn't experience yourself, or if you feel that way, So do you take it as always, well, I've heard it so many times that it must be true, or I have experienced it myself and I don't believe it's true? And I'll give you one example here. I'm a foreigner here in the US, and I've been living here for 15 years. I'm 37, so I came in, when I was already an adult. And I've always heard, about, the staples of the American people and, what they are and who they are and blah, blah, blah. They get mocked all over the world for a label. And I tell you something, racism, now that we're talking about it, I have not met one person who is truly racist ever here, 15 years, and never met somebody who was truly racist that I could say, like, oh my God, this guy hates, this race. They don't. I mean, it's a joke for most of us. I mean, we had a mix of people where I worked, and we were Asians, black, white, Spanish, and different kinds of black culture. Haitian, Jamaicans, Trinidadians, Bajans, and American, descendant too. And it was like the most fun environment because we took our, racist jokes to a camaraderie. Like we were a group. We never took it like, and we would just play with it. That's how real Americans are. Like, yeah, there's always an asshole that thinks that it should be this way or that way, or I don't know. They very distorted people, but in general, I haven't seen racism here, which baffles a lot of people. So that's my take on that.
Yeah. No, I have experienced racism, of course, but I don't even want to call it racism. I just want to call it stupidity. Like it has nothing to do with the races or the race or the religion or anything. It has something to do with the person who sits with the distortion itself. Like if you call somebody something, it's not because of the race, it's not because of the religion, it's because there is something wrong inside of you that you have to take a look at. And if we want to call it racism, let's call it that. But I just want to call it lack of love for self, and that's what's create this whole illusion of separation.
Yeah.
Pure projection.
Well, that's what it is. What you judge in others is what you judge in yourself.
But let's take it further. I think we should I think we should go a little further, because before we jumped on this call, we had another. I don't think that we were disagreeing. We just didn't dive into it. And I am in this space where I have a take on things now where I don't really buy into this duality, this polarity, because I have, but to move on in my life and my own consciousness, I think that I kind of have to let go of the thought of polarities, because I really don't believe in them anymore. I don't think that polarities is a part of life. And this duality is real. I think it's an illusion. And you were a little bit disagreeing with me in that, because you believe, can you explain that? Because I didn't really get it.
Yeah. So, all right. Just in general, polarity is how the universe works, at least in these dimensions. And it exists because we need it for contrasts. It's almost like perceiving the world without light. Light and darkness needs to exist. So polarity, that's what it means. But it's an experiential thing. You do polarize yourself towards the positive or the negative. Like this is an inevitable part of the structure of our universe. So there is a positive polarity and there is a negative polarity, and this has all to do with the work that we do as light beings, because we are created. We are a rainbow. When people talk about the Tibetan rainbow activating meditation, and this transcendental process, what you're doing is, let me explain it this way. Everybody's familiar with the chakras, 7 points of energy, 7 colors, right? And that's the rainbow body. Okay. So the polarity has to do with how you activate yourself towards the next level, because otherwise you'll be recycled into this third density human experience. It's not really human experience, but the third density experience that we humans are part of. There are other types of races in the galaxy, at least, and I'm sure in the universe, but we experience this third density this way as humans. So we need to activate ourselves into different processes that will elevate us to the next density layer, dimension of reality. And that has to do with polarization. So you need to work hand in hand with the polarity of the experience or the layer that you're at. And here we're talking about being a positive being or a negative being. And once you go, I mean, this can get a little bit more deep if you want to, but your work here is supposed to polarize you. It's not supposed to keep you, in the middle. and you need to know what your purpose is here. And this is why I said, in the past, the law of one says, if you want to polarize towards negative, you have to be 95% negative. And 95% negative means that 95% of the decisions, of your thoughts and everything, is trying to manipulate others into becoming, say, more beneficial for you. That's it. Corporations are the best example of this. They manipulate people at the bottom so the top can keep growing. We can go to governments and so on and so forth, but that's the premise of how you polarize towards the negative.
Yeah.
And this is all well and good. This is nothing wrong. This is part of our existence here. Yeah. And to polarize yourself towards positive, then you do need a minimum as well, but it's not that high. It's only like 51%. So you need to be 51% of your time thinking, loving, compassionate, helping others, and so on and so forth. So that's the polarization when it comes to the growth as a spirit. If we bring it down now to only the existence of, let's just enclose it into our density, this little cube or place that we're living, then you need to bring it into the context of what it means to be a human and deal with the dualistic mind, which is what makes you perceive the possibility of something being negative or positive. Mm-hmm. So now we're entering the human experience through the mind in a dualistic view. And then you kind of create, your own experience, which is not, there's no textbook to say you're supposed to be, this way or that way. And I can go on with something that synchronistically I started reflecting last night about the programming of the individual, the human, the programming of all the energy centers before we come in here. And this is important because people need to self-discover themselves to know what kind of energy do you have in your centers. Yeah. And some of them may not have programmed or developed so far the heart chakra. So that means that they're stuck there and they need to make a decision. Either they open it up or they keep working in the lower ones. Mm-hmm. So that's, now we're getting more into the programming and how we as humans here can decide into which polarity we're getting into. And yeah. I'm pretty sure what you were talking about, and, I want to hear your thoughts on it. Is this like how we perceive the world in terms of positive and negative, like the distortion that we're seeing now? Because that's part of the game, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Is that how you see it?
That's a part of the game, yeah. That's what I see. Like I was thinking today, because there is good weather and bad weather, and I was thinking, what does the rain does that it's so bad, and what does the sun does that is so good, and why are we categorizing it as good and bad weather? Like, I mean, I was just getting philosophic thoughts about all this good and bad, love and evil, dark and light, and all these things, but I also came to a conclusion that when you go beyond this perception of good and bad and positive and negative, you understand, and this is from the Greek mythology, it's when this is present, this is not. And when this is present, this is not. It's like night and day. It's not like there's no difference, there's no polarity, but when this is present, this is just not, and then it's day. And when this is present, this is just not, and then it's night, And instead of saying this separation between and there is negative and positive, I believe that it's beyond that, and it's just about what is present and what is not. And by that, you don't create any thoughts or feelings towards it. So you don't create this reality about negative and positive. You just create a reality where you observe what is present and what is not. And by that, you don't go into the stories of all the evil and the love and bad and good. It's just an observation of present, of life, how it flows. And I don't see this negative and positive loading or charge. There is, of course, because we're living in an electricity everywhere, energy everywhere. But I don't see this negative and positive charge. I just see a flow of life that is present. And yeah.
I like that. I mean, from my perspective, what you're doing and showing is the it's a higher consciousness perception, which to me is the understanding that you are part of a whole, right? When
Yeah.
you are part of a whole, then you see things as they are,
Yeah.
without investing yourself. And I think that's the message that I get from what you're saying is that, and I agree wholeheartedly there. You need not to invest yourself into anything other than yourself,
Yeah.
because these things exist for you to make a decision. Let's bring it to a probably to no, I'm not going to say silly. All right, it's a basic example, but you see day and you see night. It's your choice to decide if you want to live or be awake during the day or during the night. It's your choice. So here's the same thing. We're not saying that the day is good, the night is bad. You should be awake, during the day. It's your choice.
Mhm.
Oh, you need to see the sun, melatonin, circadian rhythm. Who cares? Why are there animals that live, in the dark? Same with humans, probably, right? We can adapt to that. So
We can.
again, taking a stance in terms of what is what, or what is right and what is wrong, that's the problem. That's the issue. We need to accept everything, like you're saying, as it simply is.
Yeah.
And people do this, people do that. But when it comes to choice, and this is the thing, you need to have a natural expression and a natural decision to make, to say, you know what, I see somebody who is going to get stabbed by this person, and I love that person, but there's no good and evil. I'm just not going to get. Tell you something. If it's my son, at risk, or somebody that I love, trust me, I'll probably kill somebody. I don't know if I would, but at least I will do anything that will prevent, because I have already an invested interest into what I perceive to be right and wrong. And that's you. You need to create awareness to make those decisions.
Yeah.
So when you're presented with the possibility or the situation in terms of the dualistic mind, you need to make sure that you have a really good stand in this whole perception of what it is. But yeah, for sure, when we see it from a higher dimensional consciousness, that there is no polarities, that there is no division, that everything is one.
Yeah.
And it's a great philosophy to live your life by, because you don't get invested.
Yeah.
Same thing, tell you something, like, I'm not condemning or supporting. I'm not doing anything with this George Floyd thing. It happens. I mean, I'm neutral about it, but I don't take a stance because I don't really know what happened.
Yeah.
And even if, and obviously we're not going to get into this whole thing, but whatever the narrative is saying, I don't believe it. I don't agree with it. Obviously, this division mentality. So that's where you make a decision, and you have to be conscious about it, because you've taken a stance on something that you may not be sure about. Then it's just creating more of what they want, if you will.
Yeah. Exactly. And it also gives you some kind of power to stand beyond that, because you don't get attached to the story. And I don't know, it's a weird feeling that I cannot yet describe, but because I'm not saying that I'm neutral. I don't want to be misunderstood in that space, because I'm not neutral. I'm not just observing and accepting tyranny as it is and saying, oh, just sit and watch your TV and do nothing. That's not what I'm encouraging people to, and that's not what I'm doing by saying that there is no polarity. But I'm trying to go beyond that, because we need to go beyond that to change, like, this repetition of history that is going on and on and on. There must be a reason why we still in 2020 fight with black and white. Like, how can that even be a subject in 2020? So I mean, by taking a stand, you could go up the ladder and target people who actually has more involvement than normal people of races, because this is orchestrated. So it's not about being neutral. I will always say that I will always out, like, for example, I've talked a lot about George Soros, about this pay for riots and all this pay for protests. You can go up and then take a stand up there and then start to enlighten yourself about who is actually causing this division of our world, and then target those people and put your awareness into that. That doesn't create polarities. That just that gives you an open mind to what is really happening. Yeah. So I want to be very clear about that too, because some people say, oh, should I then just be neutral and all that? I don't believe in neutral. I believe that we have to go further up the pyramid.
Well, let's put it this way. We're watching a movie, and, you know, I made the joke about, you know, season 1, season 2, but it is a show if you think about it, right?
Yes.
So yeah. when you watch a show, do you watch it without caring about, you know, the plot? Do you just watch the colors and the explosions and the little things and, you know, the little jokes? Or, you know, and assuming, because this is a very intricate plot, and there's a reason why we're saying, like, this is the best, the most epic story ever told in humanity.
Yeah.
It's so intricate. You know, anybody who has seen, you know, the Great Awakening map is, whew, I mean, even I probably don't understand 30% of it, you know, and I'm being like super arrogant and generous with myself saying that I understand the other 70%, probably less. So it's a very intricate thing. And the question is, are people going to just watch this movie? And I mean no offense to anybody thinking that this is, you know, a movie, but it is to a degree.
It is a movie.
It is.
It is a movie.
Damn it is. So, you know, do you watch it just for that, or do you watch it for, you know, the plot behind, you know, like the twists and, you know, the meaning, like those really riddle type of movies that you want to know what's going on behind. So that's how you should see it. You know why? Because you're part of the movie.
Yeah.
You are an actor here. And unless you bring awareness to where it's supposed to be, we're going to keep getting the same shitty movies.
Yeah.
Or plots.
Sure.
So let's bring our awareness at least there. It's not you're not taking a stand, you know, with the movie. You're just there watching it. But you bring your awareness, and as you bring your awareness, you're indirectly, think about it as feedback in the collective consciousness, to tell the people making the movie, hey, we are aware that the plot sucks, you know, and that you're telling me a story that it's probably not true. We want to know more about that part of the story. Tell us more about that, you know, and maybe, you know, you get more interested in the depth of the plot and everything else.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it. I think it's not about taking, you know, protesting and rioting. Obviously, that's just nonsense. But just bringing your awareness.
Yeah.
Listen. We ended slavery. We ended, you know, the women's right oppression. We ended, well, even, you know, the racists, because it did exist, you know, some sort of race division here at an official level. We ended all that. Why? Because people brought their awareness to it. People died for this. People forget this, but this is part of our history. People actually, with good intentions, died for this. And I mean, there are many names we can cite, but people get the idea. That's because they brought awareness to the people. And people said, huh, this guy means something it's true. You know, Black people are being oppressed. This is part of, you know, the 70s or so, or even a little bit behind, you know, or before that. And other people said, wow, you know, it's true. Like, women should have the same rights as men when it comes to decisions and this and that, you know, and slavery is actually not cool, you know, now that you think about it. People brought awareness. We are in the same situation.
Yeah.
And this is why I keep saying it's not about creating conflict. It's not about creating division, because that's another thing. You know, us trying to bring awareness are apparently divided now too. Because, you know, oh, these guys are crazy. You should be following, you know, the normies, you know, the normal people. No, what I'm saying is no division. It's just creating your own awareness. Do the research.
Yeah.
You know, watch what you need to watch. And if that leads you to the same spot you were before, never happens. But if that leads you there, then cool. That's great. but you
Yeah.
have to bring awareness, into this whole situation to demand a different reality,
Yeah.
because you're a part of it. And as simple as that, you're not just watching a produced movie and sitting there with popcorn, although you could, but you might want to contribute to the production of this movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's about time, right?
Yes.
And I think it depends on that. If I need to be honest, I think that the future for humanity depends on how many people who really succeed in bringing awareness into this age, and how many people who succeeded to bring consciousness into this age, because that is really what is going to change the whole game. And the more people that goes along with the consciousness and awareness and say no to being in the programming stage of mind and matrix, the more we have a shot of really building a beautiful world out of beauty and harmony and balance. And it sounds very hippie-ish, but it's goddamn true, because it would like, and I think the worst part here, or the best part actually, is that I think that the all good people, all good and compassionate and lovable people want the same thing. So knowing that awareness is one of the keystones to get that step further into a direction of harmony is like, that must awake something in someone out there. I mean, because awareness, it's so easy. It's just starting opening your mind and let go of all the perceptions that you have in it. And it just needs awareness. That's it. We don't even have to move.
No, that's yeah. I mean, in the awareness is just
Yeah,
going to bring you also into
yeah,
alignment with yourself, because you're going to start discovering things in you that they have always been there, but you have been afraid of talking, admitting, or even just thinking to yourself, because, oh my God, can I allow myself to think this way?
yeah,
Yes, you can.
yeah,
And I want to add something to that, which is the macroscopic view of what this really means in terms of our planets, our moment, our timeline, our space time that we're living right now. And there are planets that are taken over by what we would call social memory complex, which is just the whole civilization, or the majority of the civilization on the planet, polarized towards something, positive or negative. Planet Earth, it's actually well, it's supposed to be. We seem to know that the majority of the people here in this planet have been programmed, and we're talking about soul programming, not system or matrix programming. We're going beyond. We're going into the metaphysical part of our our makeup here as humans. We have been programmed. Most of us have our heart chakra enabled, and it's time to use it. What does that mean? That means that you need to start becoming more loving, compassionate, understanding, and simply helping other people, serving other people as opposed to yourself.
yeah,
So, with that being said, we as a planet are, or seem to be, that's a good question right now. And this is why probably ETs all over the place are like, oh my God, are these guys are going to make a decision or what? What's going on? We need to harvest this planet. So we need to become aware that as a planet, we don't seem to be, a negative, polarized planet. I mean, we can get into how we have been genetically modified for thousands of years already. And it seems like the experiment that they created in this human form was to create a powerful, polarized or positive polarized humans or entities for density activation that we're going to have. I mean, this is probably a topic for another podcast, but
yeah.
this is like this. We have been programmed to be a positive social memory complex.
Yeah.
So the thing is that once you know that, you shouldn't be denying yourself and asking like, well, I don't know, the world seems to be going evil, so I'm just going to stay here and just see what happens. No, that's not our purpose. That's not who we are. That's how I feel it.
Yeah.
People may think otherwise. That's good for them. I think that we are destined to be probably the greatest planet in the whole galaxy, the way we're looking at it, because like I said, we were an experiment, and we're an experiment from higher dimensional beings. Think
Yeah.
about that. It's not like some Monsanto or Bill Gates decided some GMOs on us. We're talking about higher dimensional beings in our DNA that programmed us, and it's supposed to be something magnificent. I'll tell you something, the people that have been guarding this planet and solar system in general are positive beings. That's it, period. So we know for sure, if you can bring this awareness into a higher dimensional consciousness, you know that we're being polarized towards positive. But we're not making a decision, damn it. People are, delaying this. Stop delaying it.
Yeah.
Start activating your heart.
Yeah. Yeah. Wake up, kind of, right?
Yeah, I mean, whatever it is, I mean, I'm sure there's people here, and we need them. We need those negative people to be more evil, in fact.
Yeah.
Because that will also bring awareness to more people into their positive being.
Yeah.
And also, they need to grow too. The evil people, or the negative beings, they need to achieve 95%. I mean, they have hard work to do.
Yeah.
Let them do their work, and we can take our harvest from there. So
yeah,
that's my take.
Yeah, I agree with your take. Some of it, but yeah. No matter what, there is an ascension. How many will come? Who will come? What will happen? Nobody knows. But yeah, something will happen. And I really agree with the last thing that you're saying with that the evil needs to be more evil, because by that, more people is waking up. Just see now with whatever is happening. And I guess there will be more evil, and it will be raising its bars towards really, really evil. But I mean, if that what it needs to take for us to wake up to our true potential as a living being on this earth, like, bring it on. If that creates the outcome, it needs to be like that. I embrace that with everything. I think it's awesome. It's beautiful.
Yep, exactly. That's how I see it.
Also, when there's no death, when there's no death, when that there's no ending to life, there is none of these horrible things that we have been buying into what regards our own life. Like, life just is. Life is in a flow. It never ends, and that's why this time is glorious, because I don't care if I lose my life in this. I don't care what is gonna happen with me. I'm just very grateful for being alive to see this super change on this whole energy field of Earth. It's like, whew. It's a good movie.
It really is. I mean, I was just thinking about how, I'm a nerd since I was a kid. I love, epic fantasy like Lord of the Rings, of course. My God, Middle Earth. So I picture, like, if anybody can relate to this, it's like I'm living in Middle Earth, and probably I'm not going to say a better one, but yeah, a better one. I mean, Middle Earth came out of one person here in this planet. So imagine the type of creation that we have. Imagine the type of potential that we have to create.
Yeah.
And I'm living in that movie of this reality that we're living. I should be very grateful to have, almost like if I had an opportunity to live in Middle Earth for one lifetime. Wow, that would be amazing for me. Visit the landscape there, the ruins, the people, the races, all these things. It's the same thing. We have that opportunity here. We're living that epic fantasy movie, because this is an epic fantasy movie.
It is.
It's only that because we live here and we're invested, it's almost like, talking to Frodo or Aragorn or Gandalf. Well, Gandalf's another story. But talking to them, they're like, dude, this is Middle Earth. I mean, nothing special here. Like, and for you, it's like, no, this is Middle Earth. Same thing. Planet Earth is probably the most amazing experience. There are so many souls and spirits that would love to be invested here right now.
Yeah.
With the health, the youth, or just simply the possibility of having a body here. I mean, I'm just going, like, really, imagine how grateful I am to have this amazing body. No, I'm not kidding. Just a body, the amazing body that has, limbs, that has eyes, that have perception, that has anything, to make me live here.
Yeah.
And I have health, which people don't have. Just those two things are the main reason you should be grateful of anything. Just being alive, because you have a body. You are given a body so you can just experience this.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all life is. It's an experience, nothing else.
For sure. But could it be cool to move on to the next level? I mean, the pyramids was built with thoughts and awareness and consciousness. Can you imagine what civilization that was? And I mean, we have the potential for that too. So I'm excited for the future for humanity, because we actually sit with the power of so much more that we have been presented until now. I watched Avatar 2 times this week, and what a world that is. And I know that this could be our world and will be our world when we start to realize our own worth, and when we start to realize what true life is, and when we start to realize how fucking powerful we are as a living species. I mean, that's cool. I want to move stones with my thoughts. I mean, everybody would like to do that. So why not move in that direction?
We will.
Beyond the polarities.
Yep, we will. That's part of our ascension process and for density. In fact, that is let me tell you something, because we see the beauty of psychedelics is that they remind you that you are a magical being. Even here, it reminds you that even though you're in this physical body, and there's no even, I should take the even out of that sentence. While you're in this physical body, you may feel that you're not magical because everything seems normal. But the reality is that you are the most magical being in this planet. I'll tell you why. The spirit is intangible. The spirit is energy. The spirit is actually, think about it as a model. Okay? Yeah. Think about it as a blueprint. That's what the spirit is. And the spirit has been programmed to arrange matter in a way, just like they built the pyramids, Ra, in 12,000 years ago. In the same way, we are building our body every single day. Think about it this way. There is no emptiness. There is no void. There is only light, okay? Now, substitute light or matter, okay? Matter being light, same thing, but for, visualization purposes. Think about matter. Our spirit is constantly creating this body. It's maintaining this body. It's almost like this physical being is a puppet. Mm-hmm. Our spirit is the hand that is always making it move everywhere. Everything that I'm doing right now is part of my spirit moving matter in a way that it becomes me.
Yeah.
It creates the vibration of my vocal cords. It creates the heartbeat. It creates everything. So, we need to understand that that's our spirit. It's just recreating this as, the being that I am. In the same way, we do other things in other dimensions, like manipulating matter. We don't know because we don't have the connection here with the brain and the memory and everything. It's not supposed to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
That's who we are, even here. And this is the living purpose of it. We, as spirits, are creating a body. That's the mind-body-spirit complex. So we are magical beings in this case, when you see it this way. And unless you are like I was for 25 years, devoted to reductionist science, and that I was actually like a nihilist, if you think about it. Crazy? I was a nihilist.
I don't know what that is.
Basically, that life has no meaning, and that we exist as like.
That's pretty sad, right? I mean,
when I was a nihilist, or sort of, I'm not sure if I fully was, I guess, and maybe I'm just afraid of admitting it. It seemed okay. It's just like, it wasn't sad. It was just like, whatever. I mean, that was just my perspective. Maybe
Yeah.
there's nihilist, depressed people, but I was never a depressed person. I mean, I had my moments, but to me, it was just like, there's no meaning, but I'll still enjoy my life. You
Yeah.
know? But still, I robbed myself from the magic of living as a human and having a spirit. But that just made it much more interesting for me after I had my awakening.
It's a process. Everything is a process.
Yeah.
Beautiful
So,
process.
yeah, that's that's something I reflected yesterday, especially when I was thinking about what we are in terms of energy. And like I said at the beginning, like we are these light beings that have different colors,
Yeah.
our chakras, our energy points, and we manipulate them in a way. That's why we have distortions. And I'll leave you with this, just because I love talking about this stuff. The reason why me and you are different is because I program my colors in a different way than you did as a spirit. You said my blue is going to be this shade, my yellow is going to be this way. And it's not really about colors per se, but just like who you are, your expression, your love, your socialization, everything. So you program those with, imagine how intricate this must be. But once we are here, and we as kids, we are perfect beings or close to perfection, because we already received some influence from the environment and from the womb and so on. But us create distortions over time of our expression, our view of the universe, and everything else. And that distortion is what makes us kind of create these lives that we're not agreeing with. We don't know why, because we think like, well, I don't know why, but I'm a lawyer and I hate being a lawyer, but that's who I am. Why do I hate being a lawyer? Because you're not a lawyer. You're not supposed to be a lawyer. You're supposed to be something else. Yeah, this is how you find some people who, all of a sudden they like, oh, I gave up my career, and I started doing something completely different, and now I'm super happy. Yes, because they brought down the distortion in their expression and became who they were. So that's what everybody should be seeking right now. Questioning everything that they are and find out who they want to be. And I mean, this is an arduous process, but it's needed. You need to go through the process of questioning and accepting that you're not who you are if it's making you feel upset, sad, depressed, or anything else. And that's.
But I will add something to that, because I believe that no matter, or I don't believe, I think it's a fundamental fact actually, that we're not our labels. I mean, we're not our identifications. We're not, I'm not, or people is not mom and dad and doctor and as you said, like you're not a lawyer, you're not, you're not all these things. You don't have to identify with these things. These things is just social status that we sometimes confused with our own self. And then instead of digging deep into ourself and figure out what our self is about, we go into the identification of labels. And I think that's often where the conflict is being created, because the conflict is always created in the labeling and the me versus you, the black and white, the glasses and the not glasses, the man and the woman. It's always this fight of labels and political ideology and religious beliefs, So if we start to remove those labels and those identifications, we really open up for the exploration of self. And what that self is, nobody knows. Only me, only you with you. And I really invite all people who's watching this and will watch this to start opening up for that self without labels.
Beautiful. I'll make my closing statement and then I'll leave you to end the podcast. I'm going to give a couple of things, for people listening. And it's one, that you want to use the duality of your mind for the purposes of experience and get the experience. Don't invest in it. Don't get emotionally invested in it. Get the experience out of that. And that dualistic mind is a tool for you to see the world in a way that can serve you rediscover who you are. And then, like you said, and let me combine our two things, is in meditation, if you meditate, in meditation, which is a forced way to raise your consciousness, see the world without polarities, see the world without division, see the world without the dualistic mind. Do that. And then once you do that in the meditation, bring it to the meditative state, which is what we try to live our life with whenever we're awake. We don't have to be, meditating to have the same mentality. We just need to bring that level of awareness to our living space, talking to people, walking around, making decisions. You bring that, and you know that when you make decisions, it's not based on any polarity or any sort of, dualistic, not polarity, any stance on the judging of polarities or the dualistic perception of life.
Yeah.
And that's a great tool. It has worked for me tremendously. So I just wanted to share that. And with that, I want to say thank you to everybody watching, and I'll leave it to you, Simone.
Yeah, we'll say thank you too to everybody who watched and will watch. And then just like, as we say, don't label it, feel it, live it, be you. And don't create and go into the division. It's so important. We don't need more division in this reality. We need unity. So thank you, my dear brother and sometimes sister. We will be back Friday with something new. And I can't wait to see what is going to happen in next week. Every week is different. First there was big bees, then there was Corona Toast, now there is Takeover. Next week can be some totally different. Who knows? But the planets will be in retrograde. I think it's like 5 planets will be in retrograde in next week. So it's going to be an intense week, I guess, from like every aspect of this energy field that is here. So it's going to be interesting. I can't wait.
Yeah. Oh God. Next episode, please.
Yes, please. Next episode of this Netflix series.
Oh God.
Cool. See you, brother.
All right. Thank you, Simone, hermana.
Ciao.
Hermano, hermana. Ciao.